Welcome back here to AD and DT with Athletics Director of LeMoyne College, Bob Beretta, and myself, Dan Tortora, aka DT, here with you every first and third Wednesday of each month exclusively on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora during Dolphin Time on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. You are watching and listening on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and you're listening worldwide on MixLR.com /WakeUpCallDT. So very proud to be here with you as always, and so very glad to have this exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with those Dolphins. They look ever so nice behind us. Bob, how are you?
I'm doing great, Dan. Thanks for being here again.
Absolutely, and we got to have the initial conversation, the jump-off conversation, exclusive first talk on reclassification and realignment. So can you provide an update for us?
Yeah, first of all, congratulations on breaking news on that story. It has been a big story for us here over the past 10 days, I would say. After you broke the news, it seemed to kind of light a spark, and a lot of people heard about it and read about it. And so we have been undergoing a process pretty much as we talked about the last time. We did bring a consultant in who we had contracted with, had been doing some work off-site prior to their visit last week. Came in here and did a deep dive, spoke with many of our internal stakeholders at the campus, college leaders and coaches and other folks in our athletic department, and now took all that data back with them, and they're going to produce a report, a feasibility study for us, which we should receive sometime in May. That'll help steer our decision-making process. While that's taking place, we're talking internally to many constituents and stakeholders and potential donors and people that might be interested and coaches, and listening to so many voices on campus, whether that's our faculty members, our staff, just trying to gain as many different perspectives so we can make an educated decision about the reclassification, whether we remain at Division II and as proud members of the NE10, or we look at maybe a shift to Division III, or potentially a reclassification to Division I. At the same time, we're monitoring the national landscape, and reclassification and realignment happening every day. Last time we talked, Stonehill had just reclassified, and we continue to monitor and see what that might look like for the future of the NE10, and to see what that might look like on different horizons in the Division I landscape.
Besides LeMoyne, what is it about the NE10 in general, in your opinion, that has made this conference so ripe at reclassification, that has come with Merrimack, it has come with Stonehill, there's the opportunity potentially for LeMoyne. So what is it about the quality of college and university within the NE10 that you feel is advantageous to Division I?
I think it's a tremendous tribute to the presidents, the athletic directors, and certainly the commissioner, Julie Rupert, the product that she's put out on the fields, per se. It's the blend of academics and athletics and excellence in both those areas. I think we are a fertile land for people to mine right now, and they see the success that schools like Merrimack have had, and they're schools that people find quite appealing, whether it be mission, whether it be academics, whether it be competitive performance. I think it's a hybrid of all those. Yeah. Again, I think it's a great tribute to the presidents of this conference. They've emphasized academics and athletics. I think the athletic directors have done a tremendous job providing the resources to be successful, and ultimately the commissioner has done a tremendous job in gaining talented individuals on her staff, but also in the member schools that make them, unfortunately, an attractive option for other conferences. And in this time right now, when inventory is becoming scarce at the Division I level, they start to look down at the Division II level. And we've said this, and you've said it many, many times, Dan, I know, the NE10 is widely considered the finest Division II conference in the country from top to bottom. And I think you're seeing that right now, particularly in the Northeast, where it's become very appealing to many different people.
Yeah, and you have somebody come in and do this assessment, like you said, they're going to take it back and look at the feasibility and whatnot. How involved do they let you be, or is it kind of a private binder that's lock and key and you don't get to see any of it?
Well, I think it's been more information gathering for the consultant. They'll come in and just talk about our structure, talk about our plans, our processes, how we operate as an institution, where we're at from a data standpoint, from scholarships to budgeting to process, all those things. And then they're going to benchmark those numbers against similar institutions at the Division I level in certain conferences. And they'll take a look at that from just a straw analytical approach. But then they'll also talk about vision and facilities. And are we at that level? They were able to come in and take a look at our facilities rather than look at pictures or videos.
Yeah.
They were able to come in here firsthand, experience, came, visited, went to a game, saw what that looked like, got a chance to talk to some student athletes and head coaches and other faculty members and staff, and really gain perspective whether the vision might support a reclassification. So it's this grand pot of stew basically with a lot of different ingredients. And as far as my input is like anyone else's. They're just asking me straight questions, and a lot of it's data, so it's straightforward, and then maybe some of my opinion. But for the most part, they're gonna take a look at all of these ingredients mixed together, and then they'll come back with a report that says, all right, this is where you're at, this is where you would align with, this is what you might need to get here or there.
Yeah.
I don't know that they're going to necessarily come back with a deep recommendation. I think that they're going to more or less provide us the information of what would be required to be successful,
Yeah.
and areas of improvement that would be necessary for LeMoyne to strive to get to reach that level if we were going to be successful.
Yeah, and it's exciting. It's exciting to see this, and like you said, you brought up not the first time that LeMoyne has ventured into gaining the information, and so still obviously the plan that could be is not done yet. We are in a fluid world with all of this, but how do you address and having somebody come in, like you said, you want to hear from faculty and obviously the athletic department, how involved do you have the coaches be at this point? Do you sit down with them and say, hey, we have somebody coming on campus to seeing all of this? Or is it more of, hey, we're not going to have that meeting yet because we want to see what they say?
Well, I've tried to be very transparent with our staff and our coaches throughout the winter, and was pretty open in telling them this is kind of the roadmap. These are the plans that we're talking about. These are the types of things that we could be discussing and considering. So our coaches have known as much as I have. I'm a big believer in transparency and trying to be open and honest so that no one is surprised. We also told them that we were going to bring in our consultant, and they were going to meet with a group of coaches, just because there wasn't time to meet with all 13 of our head coaches. So they met with a grouping, and it was more about, again, learning what type of resources they have access to, what type of support, what type of staffing. It wasn't necessarily, and I did not sit in on that session purposely. It was intentionally set up that I would not sit in there so the coaches could talk freely about anything.
Yeah.
Because we want a report that's real. We don't want one that's tainted one way or the other, or people weren't comfortable in voicing their opinion because the athletic director was in the room. So they had a 90-minute session with several of our head coaches, and it was learning their perspectives and their concerns, but I think more, again, information, data collecting, and while the coaches' opinions, everyone's opinion is going to matter, ultimately this is kind of almost like a data dump where they're going to come back and say, all right, this is kind of where we see you doing, where we see you going, and what you would need to in order to reach success, or what does success mean. You might need to increase staffing here, or salaries there, or scholarships in this area, or your facility short here or there, and then provide an approximate price tag on what it would cost for an all-in number to be successful.
Yeah. So, I appreciate that. The background look at it that you're only going to find here on AD and DT with Athletics Director of LeMoyne College, Bob Beretta, as we take a look at reclassification and realignment. We bring up the coaches and what their thoughts may be. Well, how about your thoughts on the coaches as we are here in the spring and having a lot of success? And we were talking off the air about the overall record at the time that we're speaking here in the middle part of April, here on April 20th. So there's a lot to be excited about when we look at the Dolphins and what these teams have put forward. There's not one single team that is trying to swim headfirst toward the postseason. We're seeing a lot of Dolphins going after that postseason, so I'd love for your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I hope that we have a whole pot of Dolphins heading into the postseason. And right now, Dan, thanks for bringing this topic up, because I'm so proud of what our student athletes have accomplished in the classroom and now on the athletic field as well. Our spring teams are achieving at about a a 637 winning percentage for the spring, 69 and 37 in that ballpark, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
We're tracking right now to place, I would say, in a conservative estimate, 5 to 6 teams in the NCAA championships this spring, which is phenomenal. Our lacrosse team on the men's side ranked second in the country, 11-1, lost the only game they lost down in Florida during spring break against the nationally ranked Florida Southern team.
Yeah.
Undefeated in the league. Key matchup on the 26th against the Delphi, so please come out and support the men's lacrosse team that day. That's going to be a heck of a matchup here.
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock at Ted Grant Field for sure. Our women are 9-4. They've suffered some injuries. We feel confident that hopefully they will get into the NCAAs and have an opportunity to compete for a national championship. Our baseball team coming on really strong. So I'll tell you what, Dan, you know they say there's the SI curse, but there's the DT benefit. You had Scott Cassidy on, and ever since that time, his team has been on an absolute tear. They're 19-13 right now, caught fire offensively. Pitching has been really stingy, has some really talented people on the bump for us right now. Jacob Marshall, really talented young man, athlete of the week, pitcher of the week this week. So baseball's 19-13 in first place in the Southwest Division right now, tearing it up. Our 2 tennis teams, probably the best kept secrets here at the Heights. Our men's tennis team is 16-0 this spring. They went 1-1 in the fall, so they're 17-1 overall, ranked 1 in the region, ranked number 1 in the region. Very good chance of hosting the regional. We think that they will host the regional. Our women's team, their NE10 championship season is in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't win, got in, lost in the semifinals, but they're ranked 5th in the region right now, so they're almost guaranteed a slot in the NCAAs. And then our men's golf team under Joe Tesori, also ranked in the top 10 regionally. We're going to host that regional up in Rochester in May. They'll get in. So I think conservatively we'll have 6 teams. Our women's golf team won't get into the NCAAs, but they had a tremendous showing in the fall, and they've really continued that against some top competition here under Coach Tesori. We made a coaching change in the fall. Coach took over, and now he's running both programs, overseeing both programs. Excited about their future, but they've had an excellent spring as well. So our spring team's really achieving at a high level.
Yeah, you know, and like you said, Joe Tesori having the men's team for so long, taking over the women's team, and then Jeff Lonzak having both the men's and women's tennis teams, and he was our guest for the Dolphin Dive last week, and he was so much fun, just like a big ball energy, like a kid, and so excited. And I said to him, it's one thing to have one successful program, but you have 2 programs, the men's team, 16-game winning streak, and we're talking about the women's team, and you know, our conversation, I think 13-9 was the record, and so we're looking at 2 teams that have double-digit victory or double-digit match victories, and seeing everything that they had put forward, and just, I was like, how do you balance all of that? And then on top of that, he was a successful player at LeMoyne. He won a national championship at OCC as an assistant coach and as a player, and so in the community has done a fantastic job. And then on top of all of that, he is, for 40 and under, number 7th in the United States of America, still to this day in the top 10 all time as a men's tennis player. So no big deal, you know. So I'm trying to not make him a secret. Jeff Lonzak was such an awesome guest, but I mean, Joe Tesori is going to try to do this to the best of his ability with men's and women's golf. But what do you think about the fact that Jeff has done it with both tennis teams, to have them both, like you said, be in a position where they will compete in the opportunity to have a championship, and you know, the women's side to have so much success, and then the men's side to have even more success on top of that, and not only to look to, you know, have an opportunity at a championship, but to host it.
Yeah, Jeff's done a great job, and if you get a chance to meet Jeff, you can understand why players want to play for Jeff. He is a bundle of energy. He's a joy to be around. So exceedingly positive, a humble man. Achieved so much himself on the playing courts himself as an amateur, and now he's done an unbelievable job with our teams. When I got here last year, I kind of hadn't heard a lot about Jeff and didn't deal with him a lot during my transition, but I immediately gained great respect for the work that he did. The men's team qualified for the NCAA championships last spring. They're going to get in again this year. And if you look at his roster, he's really done a great job constructing it with folks from local and international. The majority of our roster is international. And now he was able to gain a transfer from West Point no less, this spring. Peter Hatton, a freshman, a local player, was a tremendous player here in the area, also a phenomenal golfer, I might add, and went to West Point. It just wasn't for Peter. I met with him a couple weeks back, and I think he's right now playing 2-3 in the singles lineup rotation for us, also playing #1 doubles. A lot of fun to watch, fiery competitor, but Coach also brings in a whole bunch of international talent as well. He's really cornered that market. He's got a niche there, which I think some of our coaches are using as a blueprint, because Jeff has been able to crack that code, and international enrollment here is huge at LeMoyne for us to grow it. So Jeff he's successful on the court, he's successful in the admissions world, he's done it all, and I really commend Jeff for the work that he's done here as our men's and women's head tennis coach.
I mean, to do a play on words, maybe a dad joke, but I mean, he is the match that is lighting the fire of spring for LeMoyne. So, you know, what they've been able to do has been absolutely remarkable, and love, and so happy for Scott Cassidy and the entire group there, and everything that he's done. I mean, his conversation that we got to have when we made history, doing an entire broadcast of Wake Up Call on site on location at LeMoyne College, and we did it in the bullpen, I called
That's
it.
right.
And you got to be a part of it there. You got to be our closer.
On deck, yes.
Yeah, you're on deck there. So there's the closer, and then sitting there with Scott on the couch, and that conversation has not left my brain since we had it. Of, oh yeah, you know, I pitched to Barry Bonds, and Roy Halladay was teaching me mechanics, and I'm like, how are you? I mean, like, I wanted to just pick his. I was like, you know, yes, I have respect for Cooperstown, but this is our like mini Hall of Fame conversation guy, and I feel like you never run out of content because he had so much experience, which is really, really remarkable. And to bring it back to reclassification and realignment, he was part of that Division I, Division II, so Scott gets that world too of navigating the tide of that. So it would be really interesting to know what's, when they come in and have that assessment, and like you said, the data dump of this pot, what did Scott Cassidy put in the stew, so to speak?
Well, you can be assured that Scott was one of the coaches that we had our consultant meet with because of his experience in the Division I world,
Yeah.
and then the transitioning piece, and now in Division II. So he was certainly someone that they spoke with, and I know we're always very interested in gaining his feedback. I think Coach Cassidy is excited about the potential. I can tell you, I know the LeMoyne baseball community is really excited about the potential of a reclassification, whether we go or not, because I've heard that for now going on 2 years. In terms of when I started my conversations with LeMoyne, I kept hearing from former baseball players that were so excited if we would ever consider going back to Division I somehow, and felt slighted. And it was through no fault of the institution, that circumstances dictated that we moved back down to Division II, but that population is really excited right now about the potential of going back into the Division I world and testing our mettle against the top talent in the country. But I feel like we have top talent right now. You talked about Scott and where they're at. They're 19 and 13, and Jacob Marshall, a local pitcher who's just done a phenomenal job, but he's not alone. Our offense up top and down, up and bottom, from 1 through 9 is potent, and we're putting up an awful lot of runs on the board. So Coach Cassidy and Mike Miola, his assistant, they've done a phenomenal job.
And Josiah Gray and Ryan Murphy,
That's right.
LeMoyne alumni that are paving their own way in the Major League Baseball ranks, and seeing where they get to go, and following them and their stories and their history is also something remarkable and exciting to see. So a lot to be excited about here. I know you mentioned them, but I would be remiss if we didn't go back to it, because he has such a fantastic first name, Dan Sheehan, and you know, Mr. Sheehan, who I always love talking with. The thing is he's such a winner. He knows how to do it. He knows the formula, and he's one of those coaches where you know what he's going to do. You still have to beat him, but you don't, because he just finds a way. And then you get to him off the field, and he's smiling. He's so like if he was sitting at a bar somewhere watching a game, you wouldn't even know that he was a coach, because he's just so much like a guy in the town that just is a very nice. Where you and I met, I got to do some things with Dan and kind of ushering in everything we were doing. I got to celebrate their national championship of this past season, and Dan, you know, brought a couple players out to Pizza Man Pub out in Baldwinsville on 50 Oswego Street, and we got to be a part of that. So I just really value the fact that Dan Sheehan not only is here in the community, but that he's stayed here, because he is one of those people that I always think and I say, well, what about D1? What about this? What about that? And if there were to be a reclassification, then I don't have to ask the question of him somewhere else, because he would still be here. But I like to mention Dan a little bit farther, just because of the fact that he has put together so many great moments in history, 6 national championships, and now here he is again fighting for a 7th.
No doubt about it, Dan. You talk about Dan Sheehan, and I've had the great good fortune of being around many fantastic leaders of men and women during my time at West Point, now during my time here at LeMoyne, and there are none finer than Dan Sheehan. He's a terrific leader of men, and it's not just about on the lacrosse field, right? He's teaching life lessons that his players carry on forever, and those characters and those values that he instilled in his program. He's such a thrill for me to have the opportunity to work with. Yeah. And to your point, you can take him for granted because he is so consistent. You could see him sitting at a bar or in a restaurant and have no idea that he's a head coach, B, have no idea that he's a successful head coach, and C, have no idea that the man has won 6 national championships. I mean, he's working on a second hand for rings right now, and that's incredible. But he's humble. He's quietly confident. I mean, if I was a player, I'd line up to play for Dan Sheehan, because he knows what it takes to be successful. He's confident in his approach. He'll make adjustments to beat you at halftime. He's just so knowledgeable of the game itself, and he knows how to motivate. He knows how to incentivize, and he knows how to lead. And for us to have someone like that in our coaching staff, I feel like we have many people like Dan Sheehan in our staff of coaches, of our 13 head coaches, but we're talking about Dan here, and so excited that he's part of this program. He's been part of this fabric of this community for many, many years. His son Kevin, a senior on the team right now. We just celebrated their senior day last week on Friday, and I was out with Dan present the seniors with coins, and I said, you're out here as a twofer for the first time, right? You're out here as a head coach and a dad, and you know, the emotions you could see were starting to build. So he's had that tremendous opportunity to coach his son, and this is going to be a tough stretch for Coach, because just that emotion of coaching your son down the stretch, and we're going to do a little feature on Kevin later in the spring, but I'd love to kind of get his perspective of playing for his father and always having to kind of live up to those standards, and Kevin has done it extremely well. He has penned an unbelievable career for himself here, authored an unbelievable career at the heights as a lacrosse player. So, but yeah, Dan Sheehan, here he is. It's almost May, and sure enough, he's 11-1, ranked 2nd in the country. And first things first, we need to get through the conference, but we do feel like they'll be national championship contenders once again.
Yeah, and to not only know Dan, but to know Kevin in my time, and when you talk about him being a senior, very strange for me to think that how far back did I meet him, that he's a senior now when I met him back in high school. So very strange, but a shout out to him. And I would be remiss if I didn't shout out the entire team and all of our student athletes here in the spring. And also, because I know that you'll appreciate this and I know you're humble, but Frankie Delia, who's consistent player of the week, which
once again,
very happy for that. He racked up about, 72 of those this season. So very, very happy for him.
Yeah, he's a great young man, and what a job he's done between the pipes. He's so athletic, and he anticipates so well. He's got great vision, and it's like everything else, pitching and defense in baseball and softball. If you put someone between the pipes in hockey or lacrosse that is a standout, they're going to give you the chance to win, because offense goes in slumps, but defense never goes into a slump. And Frank's the man. He's got a lot of great defensive players around him, Nate Arnold and that whole crew out there. But at the end of the line, Frankie is our last line of defense, and he's guarded the cage really well for us once again this spring.
Yeah, so a lot of things to look forward to, and you can, of course, come out here on the Heights and see the LeMoyne Dolphins through the rest of their spring, and hopes for multiple teams in the opportunity for national championship contention. So with that being said, from an update on reclassification and realignment, as well as taking a look at the spring, we appreciate you being here for AD and DT every first and third Wednesday of each month, exclusively on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and our multimedia marketing partnership. For now, for Athletic Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora, this is AD and DT. And as we always say, Fins up.
Fins up, Dan.
Thank
Thanks.
you.